Alright, so this will be a little bit of a different style of video, not necessarily a an analysis of something, or a explanation on a drill, or kind of a teaching tape on a drill. Instead, what I want to do today is talk a little bit more on why drills are important, because I've been thinking quite a lot about drills as I make the videos and come up with new ideas and browse the internet, Facebook pages, Instagram pages, whichever, for different ideas. And I've kind of come back to one central question. It is, why do we do drills? As players, as coaches, whichever it may be. I've been on both sides of it, doing the drills as a player and as a coach. And in both cases, I've ended on the question, as I'm setting up a drill or getting ready to do a drill myself, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of the drill? And so I want to take some time today to kind of flesh that out and explain my thought process behind why drills are important. So, why do we do drills? Well, firstly, it's to become better at fundamentals. And that's pretty obvious. You practice dribbling, you practice passing, you practice shooting, you practice controlling a ball, you practice playing a long pass, playing a short pass, practicing a curved shot, a outside the foot shot, a power shot. You practice free kicks, practice penalties. You do all of these things to become more solid in your fundamentals, right? There was a Bruce Lee quote above the locker room of my old soccer team, and it was the quote, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And in this case, it's you fear the person that can do one thing very, very, very well, whether that's being able to shoot very, very hard, or if they get into a certain position on the field, they can put the ball in the same spot every single time. And a perfect example of this is, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time, or at least undoubtedly one of the greatest players of all time, Lionel Messi, is one-footed to an extreme. He's exceptionally left-footed. And defenders know that. Players know that. They know that he is exceptionally left-footed, doesn't want to use his right foot. And it doesn't matter, because they cannot stop him. There are clips on the internet, you're welcome to look some up, where players know that he wants it on his left foot, and it simply does not matter, because yes, he is unbelievably talented, but at the same time, he has practiced on his left foot for hours and hours upon days, upon months, upon years, and that is simply something that becomes unstoppable to a point. Now, obviously, not every player is Lionel Messi, but to continuously practice certain things within drills and to do them over and over and over, it becomes to a point where everything becomes very second nature. So, you do drills to become better in fundamentals. But what else? Why else do you do drills? Well, drills are a controllable environment. And what do I mean by this? Well, in a game situation, whether it's the Champions League final or your first under-6 game, games are chaotic. Not everything makes sense. Not everything will happen exactly how someone wants it to happen. Maybe someone slips. Maybe there's a piece of loose turf and the ball will bobble in a certain way. Maybe a defender makes a strange decision that no one's expecting, and all of a sudden everything's thrown out of whack, right? Games are chaotic. And in a lot of ways, that's the enjoyable nature of soccer. But drills are controllable to some extent. Say you're running a crossing drill, and a player isn't getting wide enough. Well, in a game, you don't get to rewind that and do it back 5 times. You get one shot. But in a drill situation, a coach can stop it and move a player 5 yards wider. If a player has overrun the ball, blow the whistle, bring it back, show them where to start their run and end their run, and try and create situations where it is beneficial that you want to end up in a game. Stopping and starting a drill is not a negative, and I've been on both sides of this coin, right? I've been on the player side and the coaching side. Stopping a drill to point out what someone either hasn't done quite right or could do differently is not a negative. The reason why coaches do it, and I say this as a former player, the reason why coaches do it is because they can't do that during the game, and they can see things that a player can't necessarily see, just from a viewpoint. The coach is on the sideline and the player is on the field, but the coach on the sideline gets a much wider view of what's happening. So, if you, as a player, are in a position where the coach stops a drill and explains to you what you could have done differently, it's not a negative. And obviously, grain of salt as a coach, I never do that with the intention of saying, oh, you did something wrong. It is simply to explain to any player, this is what you can do differently to put yourself in a more advantageous situation in a game. And the reason why that's so beneficial in drill is because drills require focus, but they don't necessarily require brain power. And what do I mean by that? Well, in a lot of ways, a drill is repetition, right? Going back to that crossing drill idea. Play the ball down the line, cross the ball in, try and head the ball into the goal. 3 steps. You know exactly what you're going to do. You know how to do it. Maybe you can't quite get there every single time, but at the very least, you know this is the process that we want to follow. In a game, it doesn't work that way. You pass the ball down the line, but there's defenders running after you. You're maybe in an unfamiliar place. There are defenders that are jockeying for position in the box, and so where you want to put the ball may not be open. There are 100 different variables. But in a drill, you are doing the same thing over and over and over. And you need to focus on what you are doing fundamentally, going back to the fundamentals. But you are not thinking about all of the other things that could possibly be happening. You are singularly focused on, can I do this very specific thing well? And so you are focused on the drill, but you're not having to think about 100 different things, and that is beneficial because you want to be able to repeat the drill over and over to the point where it's no longer, oh, I have to think about doing all these things. It's, I've done this 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times, and I no longer have to think about what I'm doing, and I can just go, okay, I'm in control, now I can think about everything else in a game. But more than that, there is no consequences in drills. And that is consequences in the sense that there is no great loss in drills, right? Going back to the Champions League final example, if there is a missed cross in a Champions League final and all of a sudden the other team scores off the counter, that's it. That is a punishing consequence. In drills, okay, as a coach, I've been on the end of, you don't do this and you have to run X number of laps. That's motivation. I don't consider that consequence. As a player, that felt like a consequence, but it's not. In the sense that when you're doing a drill, the point is to learn to do a specific skill or to practice a specific skill without any consequence for doing that skill incorrectly. They allow for learning decisions. They allow for making certain choices, but not many, right? Going back to the crossing drill, you can choose if you want to cross to the top of the 6, or if you want to cross to the back post, or the top of the 18. You can make that choice, but at the end of the day, you're making a cross. There's a limit to the number of things that you can choose to do. In a game, you could try and cut it back. You could try and dribble to the end line. You can try and dribble the man that's attacking you. You can hold the ball up and recycle possession. There's 100 different things you could do. And to try and boil it down in a drill is exceptionally useful because there are no consequences to doing the same thing over and over. The choices are preordained. You do what you need to do in the concept of the drill, and that's it. And again, it goes back to the fundamentals. You are doing the same thing over and over to practice getting better. So, what does this all lead to? Drills are the reason that scrimmages can be played with speed. Alright? Again, I'm a former player. I love playing the game. If I could, as a coach, I would go out there every day and say, alright, we're going to scrimmage for 2 hours and that's it. But that's not how it works. You can get better while scrimmaging, but because of the chaotic nature of the game, you don't get moments to think, okay, I need to make this touch, or I need to control this ball a certain way, or I need 5 seconds to control this ball, or 3 seconds to control this ball right now because I'm not at the skill level necessary to go past that. And that's okay. But in a scrimmage, you don't have that time. At least not if you want to play the game at a speed that you will find in competitive games. So with drills, you want to use those opportunities to take things a little slower, to practice things up until the point where you can go, okay, I can do this quickly and still do it well. One of the most fundamental things that I've ever been left with by a coach as when I was a player, a coach said to me, don't chase perfection in the execution of a drill, chase perfection in the actions of doing the drill. Now, boiled down more than anything, that means practice makes perfect. But more than that, you're not practicing, going back to the crossing drill, you're not practicing to hit the perfect cross every single time. You're not practicing to score off the cross every single time. You're practicing to, can I make this touch to control it? Can I make the cross when I need to make the cross? Can I put the ball in the right spot for my player to go after it? Can I put the right height on a cross? Can I put the right bend on a cross? You are working in a drill to give yourself the opportunity to do something greater in the game. And at the end of the day, you want to be thinking, this is making my skills fundamentally sound so I can express myself in a game. Soccer is fun. Soccer is a super enjoyable game. It's more fun when you're winning, obviously, but it's more fun when you get to play the game how you want to play the game. And it's very difficult to do that if you can't trap a ball, or if you can't make a pass. And obviously any player that is watching this video, or coach watching this video, or any individual that is interacting with this wants to become better, I would assume. But this is the mentality to have when it comes to doing drills of any kind. Yes, it can be boring. It's not necessarily supposed to be a game that is just fun, but it is making the skills that you use at a fundamental level, basic first touch, short passes, controlling a ball. It is making those skills fundamentally sound so that when a game rolls around, you can cross the ball 40 yards. You can take on 3 players. You can make quick little 1-2s to get around players. You can play out from the back. You can do whatever it takes because those things that you worked on in those drills at a little bit slower pace and in a little bit more boring environment allow you to express the intelligence that you have as players to do any number of different things. So, just in closing, drills are not fun. Some can be, but for the majority of the time, drills are not fun. But drills are important. And as a coach and as a former player, keep in mind, the things that you do in drills and the focus that you have in those drills will pay off and will turn you into a better player, a better teammate, and eventually will translate into win.